Hello, friends, and welcome to Dharma Talk Tuesday. I'm so happy to see you here, and I am excited to introduce our topic today, which is following my dream supposed to be so stressful? And I was actually inspired with this topic today by an email from someone in my community and in my tribe. And everything that I do, like everything I talk about, every email I write, I actually take information and words and topics directly from you. So if you ever want to see a Dharma Talk Tuesday about a specific topic, all you got to do is literally like send me an email or comment on one of these videos, and I will do training just for you because I'm committed to being totally relevant and really solve your most top of mind problems for you. Okay. So like I said, this topic comes directly out of an email from one of my tribe members. And it was so funny how it's funny how intention works. I was like praying and meditating this morning, as I do every morning, and I was specifically asking God to let me know what I should do for Dharma Talk Tuesday. And then I got this email about the fact that it feels stressful to start a business. And at first I was like, I wonder what that's about. And then I realized, this is literally the answer to the prayer. So this is what we're going to talk about today, because I know that if that person wrote in asking about that she cannot be the only person. And I'm clear and I'm confident that this topic is completely relevant for a lot of you. So I'm super excited to dive in and really share with you the 3 things that I do to change my relationship with stress. So let's just start right in. Oh, and by the way, if you know anyone who this conversation is relevant for, I really recommend sharing this video. Be generous, be thoughtful. Some of my most successful clients are also some of the most generous people that I know, and they tag their friends in the comments below and they hit share, and there's something about that generous energy that just causes them to be some of the most successful people in the mastermind that I lead. And that's a pattern that I see across the board, including in the mastermind that I'm a part of with my coach and things like that. So be that generous, thoughtful person who looks up and out for other people who you want to make a difference for. All right, so all that being said, let's dive in. So, is following your dream, building a business, doing your calling supposed to be so stressful? So the way that I teed this up in my email that went out this morning was like this. I was on the phone a couple weeks ago with a girlfriend of mine who I went to high school with. Now, I'm from the Midwest, from a community that had a really big Jewish population. And so a lot of my high school, a lot of my elementary school, like a lot of us were Jewish. And so what ended up happening was we all grew up, and many of them went on to lead very normal lives. And by normal, I mean they went on to corporate, they went on to be doctors, they went on to be lawyers, they went on to be CPAs, they went on to do relatively what I call normal things. Many of the women who I went to high school with have grown up they did those corporate things, but then they got married and now they're stay-at-home moms. And I'm not saying this with any kind of judgment. These are just the facts, right? So here's what happens sometimes. I'll be on the phone with one of them and she's like, I'm just on my midday walk with my babies and my stroller and on my way to get a coffee. And she talks about her life and how much she loves it and how being a mom isn't necessarily relaxing, but it's like she's loving every second of it, right? I have these conversations frequently with my old friends. And there are times when my business gets really hard, and I'm going to just be honest and real and vulnerable with you like I always am, and share that, yes, business gets hard sometimes. And I think about those stories and I think about those friends and I'm like, wow, that would be nice to have a level of like comfort and security and just a minimized level of stress relative to what I experience sometimes as an entrepreneur. Like, wow, that would be really nice. But then I remember that would literally drive me insane. And I consciously did not choose that life. I consciously chose this life. I consciously chose this path. And so the reason I'm sharing all of this with you is because I just want to provide you some honest, authentic perspective on what it really means to be an entrepreneur and to use my lingo and my community's lingo, what it means to be a Dharma queen. So let's define entrepreneur. Let's define specifically Dharma queen. So an entrepreneur, especially the heart-centered type that I work with, are committed to leaving a legacy. we are committed to creating an impact. We have a limitless income ceiling. We're innovative, we're visionary, we're creators, creative, and we work with people to help make their lives better, to really leave the world a better place than it was when we found it. So that's the vision for me, and that's the vision for most of the people who hire me or who follow me. Hearts and likes if that's part of your vision in some level, in some way. Hearts and likes to that. And so that's what being an entrepreneur is, a heart-centered entrepreneur. Being a Dharma queen is this. It's that, plus it's also being what I call magnanimous. That's an attribute typically attributed to a queen. She looks after her tribe. She looks after her queendom. She is always thinking about how to make a more positive, make a better difference, make a bigger difference for the people that she knows she influences. She's committed to being an influencer. She's committed to doing whatever it takes to get her message out, to make a difference, and to do so as fast as she possibly can. She recognizes urgency. She is absolutely urgent. She recognizes that phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me. She's fully responsible. She's fully empowered. She's never a victim. And if she does slip into being a victim, she shifts out of it real quick and she moves back into responsibility, which is where we are as powerful manifestors. Powerful manifestors are not victims. We are fully responsible for everything. So that's what being a Dharma queen is. So hearts and likes if you're committed to being a Dharma queen. Hearts and likes if you are a Dharma queen, or if you want to be. So that's what being a Dharma queen is. So let's talk about that for a second. Someone who chooses that path. So for example, looking at not just her nuclear family as the people she wants to make a difference for, but also extending beyond and looking into her neighborhood and extending beyond and looking into her town and extending beyond and looking into the state, into the country, into other countries. So if you're someone who's looking to extend your influence and impact beyond your nuclear family, you're a visionary. You're someone who is who thinks a lot bigger. I've even gone as far as, hi friends, my phone literally just cut off. That was so weird. I've never had that happen before. So I was about to say something very bold and then my phone cut off. So that's interesting. All right. So as I was saying, I would even go as far as to say that if you have a calling in your heart, which not everybody does, but if you have a calling in your heart and you are clear that you want to, you have a desire to make a difference for others, to create income from impact, it is actually selfish of you not to pursue that calling. It's selfish of you to choose anything other than that visionary Dharma queen path. If that's the calling God gave you, not everyone has that calling on their life, which is fine, you know? Not everyone feels that ambition to be that leader and be that influencer. There's a sort of like in nature, there's a niche, there's a role for everyone. So, but if that role is something that you feel called towards, let me just say it again. It is selfish for you not to pursue that calling. It is selfish for you not to pursue that calling. And the reason why people choose not to pursue that calling very often is because of stress, because they don't want to deal with the stress. They don't want to deal with the financial stress. They don't want to deal with the emotional, the spiritual, whatever it is. They don't want to deal with the stress. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, that's very selfish, because if God put a calling on your life, then what I would say to my clients is you get to surrender to that calling and you get to trust God enough to follow through, even when there isn't certainty, even when you have no idea on the how, even when you don't feel qualified. You know, these are all things that it's really one of the reasons why building a business and being a visionary and being a Dharma queen, a powerful manifester, is one of the most spiritual choices you can make, because nothing will bring you closer to God than having a God-sized dream that you know on your own power and will and ability you can't achieve. You know what I mean? I look at what I've created and I'm clear that I couldn't have done it without God. I'm clear that I couldn't have done it without the miracles that have been dropped in the path for me along the way by the incredible divine spirit. So let's talk about the 3 things that I do to manage stress, because again, if the answer, let me just give you the simple answer to the question that I posed at the beginning of this video. Is it supposed to be stressful to follow my dream? The answer is yes. The answer is 1,000% yes. It's supposed to be stressful. And anyone who tells you otherwise is A, either delusional, B, lying to you, or C, is not giving themselves credit for the way that they're coping with stress. And either way, it's like kind of dishonest. And so I'm going to be honest with you, unlike a lot of other leaders, and say building your dream is absolutely stressful. It is absolutely stressful. It's stressful all across the board in every facet of my life. And it's worth it because for me, I'm clear that that other path that I outlined at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of the email, if that's how you found us here, would probably cause me equal stress, if not more stress, because it's actually very stressful to be off purpose. In some ways, in a lot of ways, it's more stressful to be off purpose than it is to be on purpose. There are different problems, but the problems that come with being off purpose, I believe, are a lot more stressful than the problems that come with being on purpose. So just to give you an example of some of the problems that come with being on purpose. Okay, so the problems that come with being on purpose include investing a lot of money in my business. Most good businesses have anywhere between a 25 and 35% profit margin, which means that let's say you're making $100,000 a year, that means that you're really only keeping $35,000 of it. So to someone who doesn't know that a good profit margin is 35%, they might look at that number and be like kind of stressed out by it or scared by it. If you know anything about taxes, you know that you don't want to make a profit margin of over 35% because then you'll have to pay it all in taxes anyway as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, right? So stuff like that. And so you got to spend the money on something. So what do I spend it on? I spend it on my own mentorship, which I'll get to in a second. I spend it on events. My events typically cost in the range, give or take a few thousand, of $20,000 per event with all the pieces that go into it, you know, running my team and all the other pieces that go into it, obviously like the cost of the hotel and things like that. And I do a couple of those a quarter. So do the math on that. Other things that cause me stress. Managing my team. They're humans. It's like, you know, it's like not just, I mean, writing the paychecks isn't even the stressful part. The stressful part is generating culture and leadership inside my company, and the reinvention and the what's the word? The necessity for my own personal reinvention and growth that's required to effectively run a team. And I don't say this as a way to complain. I'm just sharing with you the things that when I get frustrated, these are typically the things that cause me frustration, that cause me to be like, oh, maybe it'd be easier to just be a stay-at-home mom or whatever. No offense, stay-at-home moms. I'm not trying to be judgmental or say anything ill about you. I'm just saying, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Okay, so other things that cause me stress. Again, just being perfectly honest with you. Having a coaching business is like having 40 children. And I am fully connected to and feel fully responsible for every single one of their visions. And if any of them is like having an off day or having a bad month or something like that, I get in there and I'm responsible and I cause a shift and I cause a change, I cause a transformation so that they have incredible results, so that they never have the experience of feeling like left out in the woods, you know. And conversely, when my clients have insanely awesome results, we get to celebrate together like we're family, you know, like I caused their results just as much as they did, and they'll often attribute the success to me as well. That's typical. And that comes from the fact, and not every coach is like this, let's be clear, but this is how I choose to be. There are even some coaches that say you shouldn't be like this, and I don't agree. I feel that as a leader, I get to be fully responsible for the people who follow me. So, you know, that's an element of responsibility and energy and something that contributes to like the hard moments. All of that being said, I've also been on the other side where I was off purpose. And the stresses that come with that are having a job where you have little to no autonomy, little to no say in the direction your company is going, whether it feels in integrity or whether you agree with it or not. There's not much you can do about it. Another stressful component of being off purpose can be not making enough money, or you're making a lot of money, but it's coming in a way that's out of integrity for you. Another component of being off purpose is feeling insignificant. I have clients often say to me when they sign up, they say that they want to feel useful. They want to feel like their life they can fall asleep at night knowing they're being a contribution to humanity. That's actually a stress all in itself. So at the end of the day, I've made a decision, and this is where you get to decide. So I've made a decision that the stresses that come with following my dream and being a leader and being an influencer and all of that is I choose that stress over the stress of being off purpose. And you really get to make that decision inside yourself. Another way to put that is, what's the cost to you of being off purpose relative to the cost to you of taking the risk and investing in your dream, whether it's through a coaching program or going to an event or investing in like a new team member or whatever it takes, whatever level that you're currently at right now inside of the dream that you're creating in the world. So just popping in and seeing some of the comments, seeing who's joining. All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. After all of that big, long intro, let's talk about the 3 things that I do every single day to manage the stress and really be in, I call it having a relationship with stress. I actually transform and shift my relationship with stress. So now that we've established that, yes, having stress is a part of following your dream, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I'm just saying that over and over because I want to make sure that you're really clear that the answer is yes. Having stress is a part of following your dream. I want to give you tools. So there are 3 tools that I use every single day that help me in shifting the relationship I have with stress. And the benefit to shifting the relationship that you have with stress is that it's able to be present, which, given that now it's a necessity, it's part of just, following your dream. You will be able to not have it suck your energy. You'll be able to still sleep at night. You won't feel the need to overeat or not eat or, however which way you usually manage stress, you'll be able to manage it much better. Isn't that great? Hearts and likes if you're excited about that. All right. So here's the first thing. I call it gamifying. So I gamify my stress. And here's what I mean by that. So, at any given moment, I'm running about 2 or 3 strategies inside my company. I don't recommend doing that right off the start, but now that I've had my company for a little while, I can do that. I've also got a great team of people who can, who are working with me and who are out in the trenches, like supporting. And so I'm able to run strategies. Now, here's the thing. Here's what causes the stress. The strategies are not always successful all of the time. There was a time a couple of years ago where I ran Facebook ads. I followed this one marketer, and I spent, between the agency and the ads themselves, I spent about $25,000, and it converted at 0%. In other words, the $25,000 was an absolute and total waste of money. It was a failed strategy. It did not work. So what happens is a lot of people who have something like that happen, whether they invest in a program or they invest in a coach or they invest in some kind of maybe like Facebook ads or something like that, and then they have that kind of loss or that kind of failure, what they'll do is they'll allow the stress to get inside them, and they allow the stress to develop a belief inside of them that, for example, like Facebook ads don't work, or coaching doesn't work, or I don't work. Those are the types of beliefs that start to develop. And then it gets in the way of their ability to take bold, risky, powerful action that is required in order for you to develop your dream and develop a business in this particular case. So I definitely, after that challenge, I definitely felt a little gun shy from Facebook ads. But what I also did was I recognized it for what it was. It was an attempted strategy that didn't work. That's it. It doesn't say anything about me. It doesn't say anything about that person. It was just a strategy that didn't work. Was I going to try that particular strategy again? No, because that was feedback that it didn't work. What I did not do was use it against the industry, against Facebook, against that person. I neutralized my energy around it. So in other words, it was like a game. It was like, oh, and it's like I lost that battle, but I'm not going to lose the war, if you want to use that language. And so if I encounter a strategy that doesn't work, it's just like, oh, that didn't work. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people would attach some sort of meaning to losing $25,000, and they would like really be upset about that. And it's not that losing $25,000 doesn't have an impact on me. Like, that definitely sucks, and I would definitely rather keep $25,000 or make $25,000 than lose $25,000. But the facts are $25,000 was lost. That's a fact of building a dream. That's a fact of entrepreneurship. I'll share with you, I've gone on to invest more than $25,000 since then in Facebook ads and another strategy, and it's made me in this case now, over $200,000, like over $200,000 from investing at that level. So the thing is, and that's not to say, like, even if that hadn't worked, I still wouldn't have made the ads wrong. I still wouldn't have made that person wrong. You have to get that money is just an energy. It's something that you can make more of. Something you don't get more of is time. Time is a diminishing resource. Money is a replenishing resource. You can always get more money. It's totally replaceable. And I know I say this very casually as if it's like easy, and there may be some of you watching and you're like, yeah, maybe it's easy for you. And I used to think that too about my mentors who used to talk this way. But guess what allowed them to talk this way? Guess what allows me to talk this way? It's not having more money. It's having a shift in your mindset. So I just stopped being in scarcity. I stopped putting so much pressure on my launches. I stopped putting so much pressure on myself, and I started just being neutral in my mindset. And again, another way to think about that is gamifying it. So I gamified the strategy, which means that I didn't make myself right or wrong. I didn't make the strategy right or wrong. I didn't make the person who was helping me with it right or wrong. I was just literally like, okay, here we go. Let's test this out. It's all a test. Let's test this out. It may work. It may not work. I've done launches to my warm list of people who follow me, my warm tribe. And, I've tried new things with in like small launches inside of my list. Some have worked. Some have made me thousands and thousands of dollars. Some totally flopped and didn't work at all. And I'm sharing this with you in as authentic a way as possible so you can start to feel my energy around the failures and around the successes. You'll notice my energy is very neutral. This is one of the reasons why I can get on an enrollment call with someone and they can be excited about joining my group coaching program, Maya, and I'm neutral about it. I'm like, yay, awesome, here are the steps for moving forward. And of course I'm excited for them, and of course I welcome them warmly, but I'm also not like freaking out about it. And conversely, if someone says, no, Maya is not the right move for me at this point in time, but thank you for the offer, I can totally not be triggered by that the way some people are, the way that I used to be a long time ago when people would give me an objection or people would say, no, I'm not interested, because I know it has nothing to do with me. It's just a neutral event, a neutral point in time that, I'll move on and I'll go make a difference for someone else. Period. That's it. That's my vision. There's nothing more to it than that. There's no need for additional story or energy on it than that. So hearts and likes if this is making sense, and I would love for you to just comment in the thread with any questions, thoughts, or comments that you'd like to ask me around that particular topic. Shauna wrote something really powerful, which is being uncomfortable equals growth. Gosh, a truer statement has never been said. That's absolutely true. And if you're really comfortable, the truth is that just means you're really not growing. And what Tony Robbins says is if you're not growing, you are dying. So Shauna, thank you for those wise words right there. All right, so let's go to point number 2. We're on point number 2. Okay, point number 2, I wrote my notes so I don't get too off track. Okay, so the second thing that I do to change my relationship with stress every single day is I do something called emotional cultivation. And you've heard me talk about it before. It's sort of like meditation, but whereas meditation, the goal is to just kind of have like a observation of your thoughts where you're just observing them and you're just kind of very like relaxed around them. You just notice them. You don't have any kind of like story or anything like that around them. Emotional cultivation means exactly what it sounds like. You're cultivating the emotions of what you do want to feel. So right now I'm cultivating emotions around what it feels like to make at like $50,000 plus $50,000 plus per month. So I'm doing emotional cultivation around that. So what do I feel? I feel the people who come to my events and watching them transform between Saturday and Sunday and being completely unrecognizable for the better on Sunday. I see my clients making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I see people who follow me and even just like consume my free videos like this or my emails or whatever. I see them using the material, using the content, getting inspired and creating shifts inside of them to create different results. I see my team growing. I see new hires happening inside my company and creating empowerment inside my leadership team. That's the sort of thing that I feel into. Like I feel it to the point where it's like, I feel it as if it's actually happening. Or I feel it as if it's actually already happened. That's emotional cultivation. So most manifesting teachers talk about this because it's such an integral part of the manifesting process. One of the things I referenced in previous Dharma Talk Tuesdays is the book of Thomas, which was actually removed from the Bible. So Jesus said, ask and you shall receive, or ask and it is given. But what's missing from the Bible in its current iteration that is in the book of Thomas is feel as though surround yourself with the desired outcome. That's my loose translation of what it actually says. You can look it up. But basically it says feel as if the thing that you want has already happened. Surround yourself is the word that they use. Surround yourself with the feeling of it as if it's already happened. And so the thing that really a lot of people really struggle with on that front is they feel kind of delusional. Like it hasn't happened though. Like it feels irresponsible to not be focused on what's actually happening right now and instead to focus on something even though it hasn't already happened. Especially really analytical people. It feels challenging for them. It feels kind of delusional or irresponsible for them. And I'm not saying to be irresponsible. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to manifest effectively, or if you want to follow what I do, which is emotional cultivation, then you literally just spend 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day or an hour a day or whatever, 90 minutes a day, whatever you're doing in that feeling. What my clients have experienced and what I have experienced is that spending some time, however long you spend in that feeling, is more potent and more powerful than the action that you're taking. So one of the things I talked about on a previous Dharma Talk Tuesday is that in terms of action, I made an offer at an event that sucked, it blew, it totally flopped, and yet I made double what I expected to make at that particular event, which was 6 figures. So the cool thing about prioritizing and actually doing the emotional cultivation techniques is that it gives you space to be human. It gives you space to make mistakes. You don't have to be the best copywriter in the world. You don't have to be the best at sales pitches. You don't have to be the best in terms of phone sales. You don't have to be skillful at a high level with any of those things because your energy is aligned. So for example, at one of my events, I had half as many people as I expected, but I made double the results that I expected. And that kind of thing becomes possible when your energy is lined up. So I can't overemphasize to you the value of emotional cultivation. If you are somebody who is a doer and you just need your strategy, you need your steps, and you will go do them, you're like, give me the plan, I will do whatever you say. If you're that kind of person, then emotional cultivation is extra relevant for you because you cannot outperform your energetic alignment. I'm going to say that again. You cannot outperform your energetic alignment. You can't. I hate to say that. I know that's really hard for some of you to hear, but you have to work with your mindset on making sure to still prioritize doing the emotional cultivation work. If you're somebody who's such a doer and you have to still make time for, I'm somebody like this too. I have to remind myself on a frequent basis to prioritize and make time for emotional cultivation when I've got so much to do at any given time. But I've learned from experience experience that I can do all the right strategy, I can take all the right action, and it doesn't yield results in the same way that it does when I take the time to prioritize and to do the emotional cultivation alignment work ahead of time. So let me know if you would like clarification on that, or if that doesn't make sense, or what your thoughts are on that. Jody Valdez says, Book of Thomas rocks. She knows what I'm talking about. All right, so let's move on to the third and final thing that I do every single day to transform my relationship with stress. Okay, the third and final thing is that I have a really strong relationship with a really strong community. And so I'm a part of a mastermind and I work with a high-level coach. And the benefit to this, as opposed to trying to do it all by yourself, which I tell people on the phone or people who I speak with is extremely risky. Trying to do it all by yourself is extremely risky. I do not recommend it. And the reason is because when, not if, you bump into stressful moments that could potentially take you out from following the path to your calling, to your vision, to your dharma, you will get very easily off track. Whereas if you're in a community and working with a mentor who doesn't sell out on you, when the community that you're in and the mentor that you're working with knows your vision, they will stand for you in that stressful moment. And they'll remind you, assuming it's a good mentor and a good community, of who you are. They will not buy the stories and the limitations behind your stress. They will actually just remind you of your vision. They'll support you in making the courageous, bold, and aligned choice, as opposed to making a choice that really has you believe in your limitations, or where they're believing in your limitations. So this is an important thing. And, even in the scriptures, it talks about what happens to lone sheeps. They get attacked by the predators. And that predator, of course, is a metaphor for the enemy or the devil or, the ego, or however you interpret that. But it really is true. Like in my experience, I took some time away from having a mentor to just kind of study. And I still had a mentor that I was studying, which was Russell Brunson. But I wasn't necessarily in a one-on-one connected relationship with a mentor. And I got to a point where I consciously knew, and I was like, from this point forward, every day that goes by that I am not connected to and investing in a high-level mentor, it's actually very risky for me based on my vision. Now, again, if you are someone who does not necessarily have a big vision, you don't necessarily need a high-level mentor. But if you are someone who has a big vision, and if you're someone who really sees yourself as an influencer and a leader and someone who gets to have a lot of success inside your business and inside your dream, it is risky for you to not have a mentor. It's risky for you to not be in a community that you're plugged into, that holds you high, that believes in you, that knows your vision, and will stand for you when things become hard, when things become stressful. And so one of the things that's really helped me with changing my relationship with stress is having that community. And I'll just share with you, as far as some of my clients go, through each of these points, ways that they've used it. Like I have a client, Therese, who's filling an incredible, extraordinary, very special retreat in Paris right now that is happening in July. So Therese, if you watch this, feel free to do a little shout out. You're like, yes, it's me. She'll be the first to tell you that it's Da Vinci's 500th birthday. So they're doing a lot of really special stuff in France because he's actually buried in Amboise, just outside of Paris. So Therese is planning like a whole incredible experience around that and a few other things for ambitious women. And I won't go more into that, but Therese, if you're on live or if you watch the recording, feel free to say more in the comments. Anyway, there was a point where she felt kind of like energetically stuck with how things were going with filling that retreat. And at that point, I had given her all the strategies that I recommended. And I said, we need to stop and do an emotional cultivation right now. So she's one of my one-on-one clients. And so she has the benefit of working with me one-on-one at that level. So I didn't give her more strategy. I gave her a customized emotional cultivation where I took her through a visualization that started with her group of women who she's inviting to this experience, standing on top of the Eiffel Tower and having the most incredible, magical conversations with each other. I painted the vision for her vividly of being in a wine cellar together and masterminding. I painted the vision of going through the Champs-Elysees and the other parts of town, like on Facebook Lives, like sharing their experience with their followers. And by the end of the emotional cultivation, Therese was crying. And that's actually how it's supposed to be. That's exactly how you should be at the end of an emotional cultivation. It should be completely vivid and real feeling for you. And sure enough, she went on to enroll several more individuals into the retreat who signed up, put down their deposit, etc. at that point, and so on and so forth. So that's the power of emotional cultivation over and above strategy. I'm not saying don't have strategy and don't use strategy. The formula that I actually use in terms of how to create results is yoga, emotional cultivation, strategy. So really 66% of that formula counts for energetic alignment, and only a third of it is accounted for by strategy. So yes, it's a part of the formula, but it's not the entire formula. So that's one of the reasons why I grew so fast, especially being as young as I was when I started my business. And it's one of the reasons why my clients typically speaking, have an 80% close ratio, give or take, as far as their enrollment numbers. And it's one of the reasons why they're able to, have extra time with their families and be able to take amazing vacations. Like one of my clients, Jen, she just enrolled her husband into going to Australia with her and taking time off because she was able to leave her job, start her business, create financial freedom, manifest all kinds of actually free trips around the world, which is a whole other story. And now she's really enrolling her husband into the dream as well. And that really starts with being the kind of person who's willing to be unwavering in her vision. And she was able to do that through using these 3 pillars that I just described. Okay, so, and I'm just going through the things. The first thing that I talked about, gamifying and neutralizing the energy. I have a client, Amber, who used this particular mindset shift around how to change your relationship with stress. And she's in the real estate world, actually. And she was able to create an increase in her income where in 1 quarter, after trying all of these things that I just shared with you, she was able to make more in a quarter than she made in the previous entire year's worth of revenue. So she made more in 3 months than she made in 12 months the previous year using these strategies and steps. So they're real, they work. It's not just me that they work for all my clients. And so I share them all with you because if you're anything like the person who emailed me this morning saying, hey, I have stress around my business and it's inhibiting me from making choices that would move my business forward, then just know that this Dharma Talk Tuesday was designed just for you. So if it feels like I'm talking to exactly you, then just know it was just for you. And if there's other topics that you want me to cover in Dharma Talk Tuesday, then comment below and let me know. And of course, I just want to be as relevant as possible for you. And the final thing I'll say is that if you want to have your own emotional cultivation, one of the things I offered in last week's Dharma Talk Tuesday was access to one of my emotional cultivations called the Manifesting Meditation. And normally it's $97, but for last week, we reduced it to $7 for 24 hours, and that seemed to really make you guys happy. So I'm gonna do it again this week, and I'm just gonna drop the link here in this chat, in this thread, so that you can access it. We'll be moving the price back up to $97 tomorrow evening, so that's 24 hours. So tomorrow evening, the price will go back up to $97. But if you want to experience emotional cultivation firsthand in the way that I just described, then go ahead and grab the Manifesting Meditation below. And that's it. That brings today's Dharma Talk Tuesday to a close. So I hope it supports you. I can't wait to hear what comments and thoughts and questions that you have and answer them for you. I'm sending you blessings, and I will see you next week in our weekly Dharma Talk Tuesday. Bye!